I found out that the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire are two different things. If you don't understand that, you can't really understand one of the major prophecies of the Bible. The Roman Empire was in power at the time of Jesus Christ. That's the reason there were Roman soldiers in Jerusalem at the time of the crucifixion. They were there to enforce the one world government called the Roman Empire at the time. Well, that decayed and vanished away, but it was reborn in 800 AD in the form of the Holy Roman Empire. And what happened was the political leader was not strong enough by himself to dominate Europe, and the spiritual leader was not strong enough by himself, but they formed an alliance together, and that's the reason they called it the Holy Roman Empire. Now, the Holy Roman Empire has now ruled 1,000 years, from 800 AD until 1806, when Napoleon defeated the last Holy Roman Emperor, Francis, and there was no Holy Roman Empire until November the 3rd of 2009. After World War II, the people of Europe said, we can't fight each other anymore. They'd had these three wars. Franco-German War of 1870, World War I, World War II was a clash mainly between Germany and France, and the other powers piled in, and it devastated all of Europe. After World War II, they said, no more. We've got to quit fighting and go together. So they did. They formed the common market first. There were 6 members. Then finally it grew up to 10, then to 12, then to 15. Well, once they had the common market totally done, so that there are no tariffs among the nations of Europe that are members of the common market, they said, well, the common market's over, let's rename it. So they named it the European Union, because we want to go not only into economic union, but political union. So that's what they did, and they decided they would form a constitution, and they also wanted to have a common money. Well, they got the common money by 1999 called the euro, but then the constitution was more difficult. Finally, the last person signed the new constitution called the Treaty of Lisbon on November the 3rd of 2009, and this brought 28 nations together into a virtual United States of Europe. So why is this important prophetically? Because when you go back to Daniel 2, one of the greatest prophecies in the whole Bible, there's a statue there. Nebuchadnezzar was given a dream. He woke up, he knew he had dreamed a dream, but he couldn't remember it. So he calls all of his wise men together and said, I've been feeding you guys for years. Now it's the time for you to earn your salt. So he said, I've dreamed a dream. I want you to tell me what I dreamed and tell me the interpretation of it. And they said, oh, no problem. We're great with dreams. Just tell us what you dreamed, O king, and we'll tell you the interpretation. And Nebuchadnezzar said, just what I thought. You're a bunch of phonies. You can't do it, can you? So he said, I'm done feeding these people, not another meal. Kill them all.
Oh.
Well, Daniel happened to be numbered among the wise men of Babylon at the time, so they came knocking on his door to kill him. He said, well, I don't mind dying, but what's this about? He heard the story. He said, put your whole assassination program on hold. I'll tell the king his dream and the interpretation thereof. He said, now I can't do it, but I serve a God who can. So Daniel called his buddies, the 3 Hebrew children, and they fasted and they prayed. Daniel goes to bed that night and he dreams the king's dream. And furthermore, God imparted to him the interpretation. This is all found in Daniel chapter 2, verse 31 through 45. So in the dream, Daniel appears before the king and says, oh, king, you dreamed. First thing he said was, king, I want you to understand, this is not because I'm smart. It's because I serve a God who knows all things. So he gave glory to God, which of course we all should do.
Yeah.
And then he said, now you dreamed and you saw a great statue, a great image. And the statue had a head of gold, arms and breasts of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, feet of iron mingled with clay. And as Daniel was talking, it all came back to Nebuchadnezzar. Have you ever had someone, you forgot something, they jogged your memory? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as Daniel's talking, Nebuchadnezzar is dumbfounded. That's what I dreamed. I remember now. And he realized he's got a true man of God standing in front of him. And so he said, so what's it mean? Daniel, well, first of all, in the dream, after the statue, then the stone rolled down out of a mountain and smote the statue on the feet. That's important. and then the whole statue came crumbling down and disintegrated and was blown away by the wind and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. So he said, well, tell me what it means. Daniel said, well, you're the head of gold, O king. Another empire will arise after you, inferior to you. And then after that will become another empire symbolized by the belly and thighs of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. That's the qualifier to be in the statue. There are many kingdoms from Daniel's time until the second coming, but only 5 have ruled the world, have dominated the world. The first was Babylon, then Media Persia. Media Persia came, destroyed Belshazzar the night of his impious feast. They ruled the world then from about, 538 BC until 331 BC. Then Greece came, and Alexander the Great came, and he conquered the Medes and the Persians, and he ruled from 331 until 197. Well, then the Romans came, and they ruled the world from 197 BC to about 300 AD. Then they disintegrated and rotted from within because of their moral depravity. And then the Holy Roman Empire was born in 800 AD and ruled. Now, here's what's important. The belly and thighs were brass, Grecian Empire. The legs of iron, that was the Roman Empire. Now an interesting point. Every time we move from one empire to the next, there's a total change of metal. Gold, silver, brass, iron. But when you move from the legs to the feet, there's a change, but it's not a total change. The iron element is carried over, but another element is added in. That's exactly what happened. The Roman Empire was the iron. The Holy Roman Empire kept the Roman element, but brought in the clay, which stood for the religious element. It was to be a union of politics and religion. So then for the next 1,000 years, the feet of iron mingled with clay dominated the world. But then it all disintegrated in 1806, but it wasn't over, because then it came back. Adolf Hitler tried to bring it back. He preached 1,000 years of peace with German supremacy, and he had a concordat signed with the Pope. In the Holy Roman Empire, the political leader, the strongest political leader in Europe, is always the leader, but whoever was Pope at the time was the religious element. So it was always a union between politics and religion. Well, the Bible teaches in the last day kingdom that's just ahead of us now, there's going to be 2 rulers, a political leader and a spiritual leader. The Bible calls them the Antichrist, the false prophet. And the Bible teaches that the false prophet will actually pull down fire from heaven in the sight of men. And people, because of that miracle, will follow him, and he's going to use his influence to say, you need to follow this new world order, this one world government, this leader. Now, that's the reason the Holy Roman Empire is so vital, is because once you understand the whole Holy Roman Empire, it's easy to see there's going to be 2 leaders, a political leader and a spiritual leader. And we're watching that starting to reemerge right now, and Europe's always been the center. Europe has always been the center. So right now, America's the dominant force. But after this big war that kills 1/3 of mankind, America will not be so much that we're going to become somewhat isolated, and Europe's going to rise up and become the center for world power again. They already passed us economically in 2007. They passed when you take those 28 nations together, they're much stronger economically than we are, but most of us don't realize it yet. So consequently, the center for world power is going to be in Europe. Now, here's another thing, and I think this would be the perfect place to bring it in. In Daniel chapter number 7, there's 4 beasts there. A lion, Great Britain, a bear, Russia, a leopard, Germany, and then the 10-horn beast. Us prophecy students have been puzzling, where's the 10-horn beast? Because it says there in verse 7 and 8 of chapter 7, it says that the beast would have 10 horns, where it's going to be one beast, one nation, one empire, but 10 horns. And it says later on in the chapter, the 10 horns are 10 kings. So apparently this is going to be an alliance of 10 kings that are going to merge together. Now, why is this important? Because after Daniel saw the 10 kings, another rose up after them and uprooted 3 of those horns, 3 of those kings. Well, we've been looking for the Tenhorn Kingdom. I've been watching for it for many years. Well, last year, on November the 7th of 2018, Emmanuel Macron came along, the new president of France, and he doesn't like America dominating Europe. He wants to get out of NATO. And he wants a new army, a true European army, he calls it. He called it the Coalition of the Willing. Well, they finally got this together. On November the 7th of 2018, the 10th member, Finland, joined. On that day, they now have 10 members, and they've named it the European Intervention Initiative. I'm not absolutely positive this is the Tenhorn Kingdom of Daniel 7, but it looks like it to me. Now, if we see another one come up among those 10 and uproot 3, I've got to come back to the Jim Bakker show that day.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
Yes. Wow.